Hey everybody, Ben here for the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Blood Bowl 7's rosters Slan. So, we're looking at every team in Blood Bowl right now, and we're redoing the 7's rosters because of the Deathzone 2020 run rules. Some of the inducements changed, we've got desperate measures added, and we've got a couple of years of experience playing Blood Bowl 2020 that we feel like we can give you better advice when looking at the best and or most fun rosters for Blood Bowl 7s. Now, Slan may be a team that you've not heard of. Blood Bowl 2, they're known as Kislev. In Warhammer, they're known as Big Fat Frog Wizards. But in Blood Bowl and in the original Warhammer fluff, they're Space Frogs. And when it comes to playing Slan on the Blood Bowl pitch, they are a NAF team. So they are the only unofficial team basically kicking around in Blood Bowl now. And they are an absolute ton of fun. They are one of my favourite teams to play. Basically, everyone's kind of got leap and pogo stick, which means that they are 3+ or 2+ leaping wherever they want to go. And it gives a whole different challenge to playing with them or against them, knowing that they can just Nightcrawler Bamf 2 squares away most of the time. Now, got to give a shout out for this video to you guys in our Discord that keep saying, Ben's forgotten Slan, Ben's forgotten Slan. I will never forget Slan, and I will always campaign for Games Workshop to redo them. They've done the Amble, they've got a Zote into Blood Bowl now, we've got a Snake Man. Is it too much to hope that we'll see an official Games Workshop Space Frog roster? I don't know. We've got Kislev in the game, so the rules are clearly fine. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Squats are back now in Warhammer 40k. I hope that we see Slan in Blood Bowl at some point. Anyway, the strengths of Slan, we've already kind of talked about the fact that they've all got Pogo Stick. Pogo Stick allows you to make a leap action without any modifiers. So your linemen and your blitzers are Edge 3+. It means they can leap on a 3+ forever. And your catchers, who I love, and I think as soon as you get them to the pitch and start running around with them, you will love them too. Movement 7, Edge 2+ with Pogo Stick means that they are 2+ teleporting 2 squares whenever they want to. Now, there's always a chance you're going to roll a 1 or a 2 with your normal guys, or a 1 with a catcher and they're going to explode, as in land on the ground and roll armor and turnover and bad things. But just that 2+ to be 2 squares away, that 3+ with your lineman to be the other side of a guy to allow that extra assist. And ultimately, this is the best thing here, that 3+ leap into a cage, 3+ onto the ball carrier with a lineman, with a strength 3 lineman. It's phenomenal. You can play with Slan or against Slan, and the where everyone is at the start of the turn, it doesn't mean all that much. They can be redeployed, and the ball carrier is basically always a 3+ blitz away. The linemen on this team are excellent. And in 7s, you're not going to get a lot of skills, but as soon as those guys start skilling up, as soon as you roll a block guy or a wrestle guy on a lineman, well, that's a 3+ onto the ball carrier, 1 die block. Anything but a skull is good times, and it really becomes a high-pressure team to play with or against. And because they've got that 3+ pogo stick ability, because they've got those several Edge 2+ movement 7 pieces, they're not slow either. And they've got a crocs. Same crocs as the Lizardman roster, and it's an excellent big guy for Blood Bowl 7s. Bonehead is the best of the nega traits. Move 6 is monstrously fast. Strength 5 Mighty Blow is very deadly. And Prehensile Tail is going to really be aggravating in 7s. And we see this all the time with the Rat Ogre in 7 Super Series. In 7s, you don't have a lot of rerolls, so that dodge going from a 2+ to a 3+ is no longer automatic. It is now a risk. That dodge going from 3+ to 4+ in 7s is not a roll you take unless you really have to. It will tie up players, and the Croxagore, therefore, is going to get some good free blocks, and free blocks can lead to free removal, and it can just cause a deathly cascade. So there's a ton of great stuff here about the Slan roster. The downside is no one gets block, no one gets dodge, you've got no sure hands, And if you do a lot of leaping, you're gonna do a lot of failed landing. Okay, so we had a great suggestion, which was to take all the skills talk and put it at the beginning of the video as we talk about players, so that when we look at the rosters adjust themselves. So that's what we're going to do. When it comes to Slan, you've got a Croxagore there, and the Croxagore here is the same as the Croxagore on any team. It is a big, lumbering brute that loves combat skills. If you've got a secondary skill kicking around, so if you are playing in a tournament, Slan tend to be tier 2, which means you may swing about 3 skills and one of them could be a secondary. Let me tell you, a Croxagore with block, also known as a Bloxagore, is a monstrously good big guy, so that can't be bad. Pro on a Croxagore is also a very effective skill. It gives you a 3+ chance to reroll a failed Bonehead, which keeps him consistent, and you're going to be rolling multiple dice in your pool, so actually you can take that both down push, and with Pro on a 3+, just get a free opportunity to basically turn that 2-die block into a 3-die block when you're fishing for pals. So Pro is going to help him be, again, more consistent. Guard is going to really benefit, and especially on the Slan roster. This guy is effective, movement 6, and if you've got guard on him, he's going to be able to position. You can chuck him in really good spots, and that guard is going to be sticking around. And we talked about the fact that Pogo Stick allows you to redeploy all over the shot. Not all the time, not automatically, but when it matters, that 3+ roll is going to allow you to just take a guy and put him somewhere else. And when you've got a mobile guard piece like that, it's going to help the combat maths in your favor. So I do like guard on that guy. But if he's going to be your primary blitzer, then actually Juggernaut is also a really effective skill to put on any big guy. Now, the blitzers on the Slan roster are the same blitzers as the Amazon roster. They're not really blitzers. They don't have any combat skills. These blitzers are defensive backs. They've got good movement, good armor, they've got jump up and diving tackle. That's their skill set. That's what they do. Now, it makes them an effective cage diver because that jump up means that you're going to be back up and bounding around again. So if you've got skills, then giving a blitzer block or wrestle is really effective, because then you're 3+ jumping into a cage and you've got that opportunity to take that 1-die block for great success. Strip Ball is also very effective if you don't mind having that both down turnover. Strip Ball, 3+ into a cage, roll a dice. On a skull, it's bad. On a both down, it's okay as long as they don't have block. The ball's coming out and you're going to cost them a turn to muck around picking up the ball. Push, push, ball comes out. Pow, pow, ball comes out. So actually Strip Ball in there instead of wrestle or block is a really effective way at just turning over the ball. Pro, we've already said it, but Pro is a great way to keep your team mobile. It is the only way to kind of get a reroll automatically, or at least like integrally. When you dodge, you get the dodge skill, and the dodge skill allows you to reroll a failed dodge. That doesn't exist for Pogo Stick. That doesn't exist for Leap. So the best you can do is give someone Pro, and on a 3+, they can reroll that failed 3+. It helps. It's not super, it's not automatic, but it does boost up the percentage points. And Pro is such a useful skill in 7s because that Pro guy gets a 3+ chance to pick up the ball again. You know, it can be really effective for doing lots of things. So having a blitzer with Pro is probably not a bad thing. Now they get great skill access, so dodge is great, guard is great for all the reasons we talked about as well. The catchers are going to be your high-speed scoring threats. High speed, movement 7, alright, it's not the fastest in the game, but with Pogo Stick and Edge 2+, it is the fastest thing in the game. Because where a Skaven Gutter Runner has to run around, where a Werewolf has to kind of blitz through, this guy just walks into a tackle zone, and then on a 2+ is the other side of your opponent. So it's not bad. Most of the time with a catcher, it's going to be 2+, and they are gone. Dodge is going to massively help them with their second 2+ dodge roll. Block is going to help keep them alive. Sure Hands is going to help pick up the ball. And Pro is going to help re-roll that failed one. Catcher on the Slan team, as soon as they get dodge, everything else is great. So dodge is the first skill I'd put on the catcher there. And when it comes to the line frogs, and as we look through the rosters, line frogs on this team do so much good work with not a lot. Block, they become a great ball sacking blitzer, or they're good at carrying the ball. Wrestle, the same again. And I think if you're running a league, if you're running this team in league, Random skills on your linemen are going to make them all superstars. They become positionals with a single skill. Wrestle is great, Dauntless is great, Strip Ball is great, Sure Hands is great, Tackle is great. Shadowing, probably the only one there that's not great. Fend is not great, but I mean, they do everything. It's so good with not a lot. Pro is great. And if you can get a double on them, Guard is going to be great too, because they're going to be able to just bamf in there on a 3+, put that Guard exactly where you need it, and you're going to have a very effective blitz. 100k for reroll mean that they are the cheapest reroll in 7s. You might be able to afford one, but you kind of want those positionals instead. Okay, so let's have a look at the first roster for Slan here. We're going with the Crocs mix. Now, the reason we're starting with this roster is for 2 reasons. One, it's actually very flexible in being able to tailor it to your playstyle, but primarily it's because if you want to get a taste of Slan, probably French cuisine at that point, then this is the best way to do it. Okay, so the Crocs mix comes in at 590. We've got a Croxagore, we've got a Blitzer, we've got 2 of those Agile Catchers, and 3 Frog Linemen backing it up. Now, that comes in bang on 590, which gives you a little bit of flexibility. But as it comes out of the gate, you've got that big guy, so you get the opportunity to make some bloodthirsty, horrifically powerful blocks. You've got 2 of those catchers, and trust me, they are going to be addictive. You are going to find yourself saying the words anything but a 1, and you'll be able to pull out some really cool game combos. Hand off to a catcher on a 2+, catcher bamf away on a 2+, dodge on a 2+ for the touchdown on a 2+ rush. It is just absolutely a rush. And we've got one of the blitzers, and I think it's really important that if you've never played Slan, you do play with at least one blitzer every now and again. Straight out of the gate, they're not great. As far as blitzers go in 7s, you want a blitzer because the blitzer normally comes with good strength or a combat skill. This guy comes with the same strength as a line frog and the same combat skills as a line frog, but he's got jump up and diving tackle, which means you can put him on a guy, and it's going to force a reroll when they dodge away, which is massive in 7s. And because he's got jump up, you can cage dive with him, you can take the pogo leap risk with him, he's got good armor, and when diving tackle comes into effect, that jump up is going to keep them in the game. So you're going to get that kind of mid-range power combo that the blitzer gives you. Now, we talked about skills already. As soon as they do get wrestle or block, they become more effective, and you're going to start loving them. They get strength access as well. They can become real star players. They're 110k at the beginning. They get a bit bloaty, but they do get very cool. Now, the Crocs mix here gives you each of these positionals, but what you can do, and like I said, is you can flex it up and down. The reason I've put the little stars on there is because what you can do, and this is what I would probably lean towards after my first few games with them, is I would look to drop that blitzer. The blitzer's 110k. You turn him into a line frog instead. It gives you 50k spare, which gives you some choice. It can bring an 8th player to this roster. The catchers are vulnerable. Low armor, no integral dodge, and strength 2 means they're going to get targeted. And bear in mind, every time you take a pogo shot, there's a chance it's going to fail, and there's a chance the ground is going to end your career for that player. So having an 8th player gives you that flexibility to take more risky plays, knowing that you've got someone that can come back for the next drive. It also means that when the Crocs knocks somebody down, you got someone who can take a little boot to the head. And again, if he gets sent off, you're going to have someone else that comes back on. So having the 8th lineman is really effective, and we're seeing that the bench is really important in Blood Bowl 7s, because you are going to suffer a couple of casualties, and playing with 6 or 7 against 5 or 6 can be a massive advantage in this game, especially when the line frogs for this team, or the linemen for this team, are so good. They're human linemen, but for 10k more, they've got that very long legs and pogo combination that just means they're 3+ redeploying. Monstrously good. Now, you can ignore all of that and take a desperate measure instead. And this is something that I'm absolutely loving in this edition of 7s. Desperate measure. 50k. Roll a d8. You might get a wizard. You might get +1 strength. It is always entertaining. It's not always brilliant. It is swingy. And it is quite fun and narrative. So you can drop that blitzer, take a desperate measure. You can drop that blitzer, take an 8th line frog for more consistency. You can drop that blitzer, take another catcher. There's a ton you can do, but as a starting point for Slan, this is not bad at all. It's going to give you all the options you want. It's going to give you that feel of, oh god, Please let me not roll a 2. Or you can just give in and go all catchers. We've got no Croxagore, we've got no Blitzer. All we've got on this roster for 600,000, bang on the money, is 4 catchers, 3 line frogs, and a reroll. Now, you are giving up a lot of strength here. The line frogs are great, and if you've got a couple of skills, just one wrestle, one blitz, one block is going to give you that little bit of combat ability. What it's not going to do is give you strength. But you've got 4 dudes that are dodging around, literally flying around on a 2+, and this is so fast and so fun. It is a really weak roster. There are few rosters in 7s that are more prone to being just instantaneously killed than this roster. But never forget how good the linemen are on this team. That stat line, movement 6, edge 3+, is all you need. And where they've got that little boost of just every now and again, I'm going to take a 3+ and get out of problems and out of trouble, it means that even if your catchers get murdered, you will always be looking at a 3+ to pick up, to a 3+ handoff receive, to a 3+ pogo into the open for a massive gain. It is underrated, and this roster here is going to be 3-0 or 0-3 in most games. It is high octane. It is not the most consistent, but it is a very exciting roster. Or you just ignore the blitzer and ignore the catcher rolls, and you go all line frog with some muscle and a reroll. So we talked about how good the Croxagore is, and we've talked about how good the line frog is. This roster, again, comes in at 600k. You've got a reroll, you've got a Croxagore, and you've got 6 of these great linemen. Now, you've got more flexibility here. You can drop the Crocs for a line frog. I don't think you can afford a second reroll, but you can take another line frog and then a desperate measure. It gives you that flexibility to do stuff, but actually having those linemen backed up by the Croxagore, you're missing the speed of the catches and you're missing that aggravating jump up speed of the blitzer. But as long as you don't roll 1s or 2s, this roster is going to dominate. Now, the downside here, like I said, no edge. So picking up the ball is going to be more risky, but you've got that reroll in there as well to save you. And that reroll is going to come in handy every now and again when that one big play needs to come in. This, again, is going to give you the feeling of Slan, and that reroll is going to be useful. The downside here, and we've talked about this all the way through, one reroll isn't really going to touch the sides when you're playing Slan. There's a 1 in 3 chance that if you try a pogo, it's going to go wrong. If you pogo every turn, that means 2 of your turns every half is going to be failed on that roll. Now, I don't recommend that you actually pogo that often. I think it should be twice a half at most. But having that reroll just to keep things going is going to be so handy. And quite frankly, you've got a bunch of armor 9 guys here, backed up with the Croxagore. No one's vulnerable. This is just on the pitch, hard Blood Bowl, with that little thing in your pocket that gives you the ability to just reappear somewhere else. It's great. But for me, it has to be the Crocs mix, because it just gives you all of that feeling of Slan. The reason I love 7 so much is you rack up a game, you're done in 45 minutes, and it gives you that feel of that team. It gives you the rush of that team, and you get to grips with the play style of that team. So if you want to play Slan for an evening of 7s, get 2-3 games in, run the Crocs mix. You'll learn to love each of the individual pieces here. Everyone loves Croxagores already, right? But that blitzer, you look at it and you're like, 110k? He doesn't even have block. What the heck is this? Try it. That jump up skill is great. The fact that diving tackle in 7s is great. The catches are amazing. Movement 7, you're like, well, they're a bit slow for what they do. No. Because they fly. They literally teleport on a 2+. And then if you need to still leave a tackle zone, it's still a 2+. And once they get dodge, it's just dodge away, move here, jump over you. It's just phenomenally good fun. They're not the fastest, they're not the strongest, they're not the most reliable, but they are so exciting. I love Slan, and I do really love them in 7s. So take them, get them to the pitch, and have a great time with them. Let me know what you think of Slan in 7s, what you think of these rosters, because I love them. Anyway, we're going to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy leaping. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube Members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.